All right, everyone, is interview time. And as you heard in the intro that we recorded earlier today, before doing this podcast, so we recorded it we were honest. We're like, we don't really know what we're talking about other than vasectomies, with awesome repeat guest, Dr. Justin Dubin, who we call Dr. Doobie, whatever we might say in this show. Dr. Justin Dubin is awesome, and we are super excited to have this episode on vasectomies. So even though you've been on our show, Dr. Dubin, can you please share with our listeners how you got to where you are in the field of sexuality?
Of course. First off, thanks for having me on. You guys rock. I had such a good time the first time, so let's do it again. So a little bit about me. I grew up in North Jersey, went to undergrad at Johns Hopkins. I thought I wanted to go into medicine. I did a major in biology at the time. And after I graduated college, I realized I was like, I want to go to med school, but I don't want to go from studying hard to like studying much harder right away. So I decided to work for a little bit. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I ended up applying for several jobs. I got a job as a clinical research coordinator in urology. Had no idea what urology was. I took the job at Cornell, met a lot of people, and I really fell in love with the field of urology. I ended up going back to Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson in New Jersey for medical school. And then from there, I really confirmed that I wanted to do urology. I did my residency at University of Miami. And there, one of my mentors, Ranjit Ramasamy, who's done a lot of great research in men's health, sexual medicine, infertility. I did a lot of work with him, and I really felt like that was my calling. Last time we spoke, I was still a fellow at Northwestern in male infertility, sexual medicine, and now I am actually a men's health specialist. I focus in sexual medicine and male infertility at Memorial Healthcare System down in South Florida, and helping men with their issues and their partners, hopefully as well, with their sexual health issues. And what I really love about sexual medicine is really that, we're focusing on improving the quality of people's lives. A lot of medicine, when we think about medicine, is, don't do this so you don't die. We want to make you live longer, or we're doing some kind of procedure to prevent you from dying. And, we sometimes lose track of what a life worth living really incorporates, right? If I lived another 20 years, but, and I value sex and my partner values sex, we need to make sure that we're restoring that part of their lives, right? Because if you're living an extra 10 years, but you're not living a good 10 years, a lot of people may not be happy with that. So I really love this idea that we can focus on improving the quality of people's lives and really their partners' lives. And I think another thing that's important about sexual health is that sexual health is health. And you guys have had a lot of people on, and you guys understand more than most that, if there's issues going on sexually, whether it's with a partner, with yourself, there's a lot of potential health implications here. For erections specifically, for penis owners, things can be compromised, but can cause problems: diabetes, heart disease, low testosterone. But then there's other things: depression, anxiety, relationship issues. So there's so many levels to helping people, and it's really fun to kind of incorporate all of that and use sex and sexual health to help guide people, almost for many as a starting point to improve other aspects of their lives. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Mic drop, Dr. Dubin, the victor of vasectomies, everyone. And it is time to talk about vasectomies, Dr. Justin Dubin. So let's talk about vasectomies as a whole. Yeah. Let's start with how they actually work. And is the procedure and healing, because a lot of people have questions about that, is this process super painful? Are they going to shoot out a puff of smoke after they orgasm, after having an ejaculation after a vasectomy? Please tell us.
So first off, you talk to any urologist, we love vasectomies. Vasectomies are a wonderful procedure. They are a great means of voluntary permanent contraception in men. And basically, it's a relatively low risk quick, harmless, usually covered by insurance procedure that we get to do. And how it works is basically what we're doing is we are cutting the tube, the vas deferens that connects your testicles to the outside world. And I like to think about the vas deferens really as a highway that sperm act as the cars, travel from your testicle, and they go to the outside world. And what we're doing is we're basically doing a procedure. We're making an incision either in your scrotum, 1 or 2 incisions, depending on, surgeon's preference. And we're snipping that vas deferens, 1 on each side. You got 2 testicles. If you have 1 testicle, we only snip 1. But, and basically what we're doing is there's several techniques we can do, but we pull out the vas. You can either be sleeping or you can do it in clinic. Most of it is done in clinic, but if you're worried and you want to be more comfortable, you can be under anesthesia. But basically what we're doing is we're cutting that tube. We're sometimes tying it or clipping it on each end. We're burning each end, and sometimes we bury one end because what we want is we really don't want them to ever see each other again, right?
That sounds painful though, Dr. Dubin.
It sounds like a witchy ritual. We're going to burn it and bury it.
We're going to bury it, burn it, and cut it. Okay, so
you're trying to make it so they don't find each other. Yeah.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. So if you're awake during the procedure, we give you local anesthesia. And I would say probably that's maybe the most painful part of the procedure, right? It's just, like getting a shot in your arm, right? It's a needle where there's another machine called a Matajet that some people use, and we're numbing up that area. And then once that's done, you really don't feel anything. Your vas deferens really is not something that has sensation much like your skin. And so once we kind of get through to the skin and numb that area up, you're in good shape. I mean, we do numb the vas up, and it's pretty quick. And you're going home the same day, no matter what. And for the most part, I'm not sending guys home with pain medicine. You have local anesthesia that's going to last for a couple of hours. I tell my patients to take Tylenol. That's it. Just Tylenol, just to give you an idea of how little pain you should be in. You're going to be in discomfort, obviously. And for the next 48 hours, you're icing your balls. You're sitting down on and off, icing your balls, and you're kind of chilling. And, it's a very common procedure, just to reinforce all of these concerns, right? So about 500,000 men a year, or penis owners, actually do this, elect to have it.
In the U.S. or global?
In the U.S. Okay. In the U.S. And the most popular times to do this, a lot of people think March Madness. It's actually true. March Madness is basketball. There is a study that showed
like
March and December.
Oh my gosh.
March and December are the most common times to do this. March because everyone wants to watch basketball. So they all their boys get together. They get the vasectomies. They're hanging out on their couch and they're having a good time. And then December, because a lot of times with the holidays, you have some extra days off. The end of the year also marks, some insurance you've gone through, a lot of your co-pays and everything already. So you also have this opportunity to get this at cost because the insurance covers.
I just thought about all the people that I know, the women that birth children, that your recovery, your description of the recovery, it's like a couple of Tylenol and a bag of peas and March Madness, and all of them are like, go fuck yourselves. When they're like, I had an episiotomy and had my stuff stitched up. So,
it's true.
Word. But there's no shaming here, because that should be a happy piece of news for anyone that owns a penis. Anyone that owns a penis is like, I didn't think vasectomy was so easy.
No, it's great. It's really easy. And I mean, just to reinforce, some people worry about, okay, what after the 2 days? I want to return back to activities. Usually we say, a week from the day of the surgery to a week after, no strenuous activity, no heavy lifting, heavier than like 15 pounds, no exercise, and no sex for the first week. After that, go to town. You're enjoying yourself. You are full go, full exercise, full sex. However, you are not yet sterile. So that just because you had a vasectomy doesn't mean you're actually done. And that's probably the most important thing I can stress right now, is really because after the surgery, if you think about it, how I described the vas deferens as a highway, and you think about cars being the sperm in that highway, when I cut it, or if you think about traffic jam in a highway and there's an accident, there's still cars on both ends. So you really need to give it time to clear your body time to either clear out the rest of those sperm or let the sperm die. So there is a time right after where you still need to use condoms. You still need to use oral, any form of contraceptive. And usually what we say is 2 to 3 months for contraception, or 20 to 25 ejaculations, whichever one comes first.
Sometimes it's like one day, just over and over.
So that could be a goal for anyone that got a vasectomy. Like, I got to come 25 times on my own.
I'm ready.
I'm shooting blanks after that.
Well, so you're clearing them out. Interesting. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and you have guys literally call them. They're like, all right, like a week, like as soon as like that week hits, they count, man. They count, and then they're trying to break a record, to see who could get there first. But once you get to that mark, you're not technically done. We want to confirm that you have no sperm in your ejaculate. So we ask you to do something called a post-vasectomy semen analysis. And basically, we ask you to go provide a sample. There's many ways. You can go to a lab. There's online, things that you can do. And once you have 0 sperm in your ejaculate or less than 100,000 immotile sperm, you are good to go and you're sterile and you don't have to worry about babies anymore.
So I'm gonna swap these because we have some questions here, and I'm gonna go below already just on air. So because you're already kind of talking a little bit about like success rate, so I'm gonna lean into that one right now, and then April will move with this other direction. So my partner, so April and I are both are partners with vasectomies. And I think they both have 3 children, and they're not from us, the kids. So we won't tell a lot about their personal lives, just that. And it's awesome because we don't have to worry.
Their social security numbers are
555. Yes. Their address is. But my partner said he never went in to do this test to go and double check the sperms. But we're talking, I don't know, I think we're at like 12 years later. I think we're good, right?
Yeah.
So
I think you're probably good. I think, right.
Am I leaning into the success rate?
Yeah. I think you're probably good. And here's something you bring up a really good point. One of the biggest problems we have is, we see guys, we get the vasectomy, and some of them don't follow up and they don't get that semen analysis. Now, I can't make you do anything, right? But you should know that if you really want to guarantee that it works, you should get one. Now, there's 2 things when we're talking about success rates. One is the success rate of the procedure itself, right? So the first time you get vasectomy, we wait those 2-3 months or the 20 to 25 ejaculations. What's the chances you're going to have 0 sperm in your ejaculate? The chances are very, very high, over 99% chance. So, this is a very, very high success rate procedure in making you sterile. Now, the second question really is, once I get a vasectomy and I'm confirmed to be sterile and have no sperm in my ejaculate, what are the chances of having a pregnancy, right? Now, it's very, 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 very low. 1 in 2,000 to be exact. And I think it's kind of hard for me. I couldn't really conceptualize that number. So I did research when I was talking with my patients. And, most people who use contraception, they have a partner who's on oral birth control. And the pregnancy rates that the CDC says for, someone who is doing their best to take oral birth control, consistency is around 7%. So vasectomy is over 140 times more successful at preventing pregnancy than oral birth control.
Wait,
so it's very,
is that
very
one
successful.
person that it would take one person 2,000 times to perhaps not be effective, or is it 1 in 2,000 people?
I would say it's a 1 in 2,000 chance every time they have sex.
Okay.
That's good.
Well, that's
good.
Better.
So what were you saying for birth control then?
It's about 0.07. I don't know. It's for 1 in 2,000, it's it's 7 out of 100 versus 1 in 2,000.
Okay.
And it's 104. I'm not a math guy. So I was all right, how many times more is that? It's 140 times more effective.
For using birth control, though. So you're saying that's more risky? Yeah.
No.
Oral contraceptive.
Correct. Right.
Exactly.
Vasectomy is 140 times more effective.
I know so many people that have been pregnant with birth control.
I do too.
IUD over
Yes,
here.
IUD with the pills. So that makes sense. I just wanted it for my own brain, kind of calculate was it like because 2,000 times of orgasms or ejaculations.
Those are good odds.
A lot of that.
Made the odds for
if you're doing it that much, God bless. That's awesome. But,
you're probably going to live a long life. Good for you. Healthy. So, okay. So in your expert opinion,
yes,
this is one of my questions because we talked about this in the intro, and you're a 34-year-old doctor and you have not yet had a vasectomy. Not yet. However, you said, hell yeah, I get one because we asked you before we started recording.
Yes.
So in terms of people that should consider getting vasectomies, so do you turn people down if they're too young? Like if they're 22 and they're like, yo, Dr. Doobie, I want a fucking vasectomy. I know I don't want to get pregnant. My girl doesn't want to take birth control. Will you give me a vasectomy? Or you're like, whoa, dude, we got to go talk to like Judge Judy because she needs to rule on this decision. And if so, where do they get these procedures done? If you know, where is it?
So first off, it's not... It's a great question. And the first thing is vasectomy is a great procedure for any person or couple who does not want to have kids or does not want to have any more kids. And whoever I counsel, I say, you have to go into this as it is a permanent procedure, right? There's no turning back. You don't want kids 100%. And I reinforce that. If it's a 22-year-old guy and he comes in and he says, I don't want kids. I never want kids. My partner doesn't want kids. I'm going to say, let's do a vasectomy. I have no problem with that. You know, as long as you are 18 of legal age and you have the ability to make your own decisions, I will absolutely respect that. And we'll have the conversation. And I think most urologists feel that way. It's not my place to pass judgment on someone for being 21.
That's
and
for
not
Judge
wanting to
Judy,
have a
bro.
kid.
That's for Judge Judy.
Correct. So, you know, I think that I would assume most urologists would agree with that because, you know, you're old enough to make other decisions. I think you're old enough to make a decision whether you do or do not want to have a kid. And I'm here to help you make that decision and make that dream come true, really. So, but of course, I do always reinforce, I want you to go in thinking it is a permanent procedure and that you do not want kids.
I really appreciate that perspective, and we'll probably dive into that a little more, like kind of elaborate on that. And I think it's really valuable. And then the part that you were saying before about the recovery rates, like we would just put you on some ice. I had a surgery for my Bartholin's glands, which are glands, and that you probably know about this, but for folks who don't know, they're internal glands generally in vulva owners. Most vulva owners would have them, and they are responsible for like initial vaginal lubrication. And mine would get blocked and be turned into a cyst, and then on the occasion turned into,
for you. Yeah.
Well, then it turned into an abscess. Yeah. And so I went in and actually had a procedure done.
I picked you up.
Yeah, April. I was
nice.
probably high. I don't even remember
really
picking me up. I was real high, and because I was under anesthesia only for like a half an hour. The procedure itself, they said, took 20 minutes, but they had to go in kind of inside my labia and stitch up these new pathways for this fluid to move out that wasn't moving out.
Right.
I thought I was going to have to be jacked up on Vicodin after. I was like, I guess I'm going to be high for a week and not walking. And they're like, the procedure went really well. You probably don't even need to take ibuprofen. And if you do, that's it. We're not giving you a prescription for anything.
I was like, did you get any Vicodin? I don't even like Vicodin. I was like, oh,
yeah, she hates it.
I know. Yeah.
And
I was like,
but they're like, sit on a bag of peas. And seriously, like if you look at your genitals, your labia might be black and blue because the procedure, like we're moving things and doing things. And literally, the next day I could go for a walk like a normal person. And I know this is different from a vas deferens, but it gave me this perspective of, look, we can have some pretty, what sounds intense surgeries on our genitals, and they aren't as intense and crazy as they sound. With that said, I'm kind of doing a little bit of tangent, but I do know one person.
No, that's a great point.
I do know one person that has had a traumatic experience with a vasectomy that probably happened like over a decade ago. And this is not my partner, everyone.
Is in the alley.
It was not. I don't know. I think it's from their
doctor.
doctor.
There's a stick of gum.
Alley vasectomy.
No, I'm totally fucking around. But
they
sorry,
didn't personally tell me this, but it sounds like an infection happened, and now it's made it so that they don't want to go. This is a part of their body that's kind of limiting to them. Is this a common thing? Like, have you heard of this happening?
So it's a good question. Just to reiterate what you said to start off, most guys after their vasectomy, and they'll tell their boys this, they'll tell me this, hey, I thought that was going to be way worse. I was nervous and it was fine. And that's one thing that I think that a lot of guys actually expect it to be worse than it is, and it's okay. But having said that, it is a procedure, like you said, and procedures inherently do potentially have risks. For a vasectomy, you have things like bruising, like you mentioned for yourself, you had bruising. You can potentially 1% to 2% of patients may have a little bit of bleeding or a little hematoma, which is a little blood collection. There's a 1% to 2% chance of infection of the skin. There's a small percent chance of infection to the testicle. Very, very small, but it's not zero. There's also a 7% chance of something called a sperm granuloma, which is a little ball that forms at the vasectomy
sounds so
site.
sweet, though.
I know,
It's a little cute thing. It's completely benign. It's not painful. But guys, once you get a vasectomy, they are very aware of what's going on down there. And they're like, hey, I feel this little ball. It doesn't bother me. It's not cancer. It's nothing. It's just a little scarring at that vasectomy site. And 1% to 2% can develop something called, post-vasectomy pain syndrome. And that's kind of, something where you have some chronic pain after the procedure. Very, very unlikely, very uncommon. But if that were to happen, and if any of these things were to happen, we do have interventions, whether it's antibiotics, medicines, and these things are all very, very treatable. I wouldn't worry about those things at all.
That's what I assumed. And for a lot of April, and I know a lot of people with vasectomies, and this is only one case that I had heard about. All the other ones, like I remember going 5 or 6 years ago, going out to dinner with someone that had one like 3 days before, and they're like, can't even tell, So when I say this, I'm not trying to scare anyone. This is just I want to.
I was also
transparent.
Do not accept a vasectomy from anyone in an alley. Yes, everyone,
correct. Just
remember that. Okay.
Well, all right. Yeah. We'll talk about the coat hanger thing in a little bit, but okay. So before we go there, I have a question for you that's still related to the same thing, but
yes.
Are vasectomies bad for the body? Meaning, do they affect it in negative ways? Do they lower testosterone? Do they hurt erections? Do they change the semen load? Like April's like, it's like a, what about cancer risk? Do they cause blue balls?
Does glitter shoot out?
Oh man, if glitter shot out, I guarantee you people would get more of them probably, if anything, I think. But actually, it's a really important question because this is one of the top questions guys come in and they ask. And the two things the three things they ask is it lowering my testosterone? Is it going to cause me erectile dysfunction? And is it going to affect my orgasm and my volume load here? Did I say three different? Yeah, that's the three.
Also, prostate cancer.
Once again, I'm not a math guy. There's another one, prostate cancer, which people ask about. So I was like, wait, that's 4. Yeah. The answer is quite simply, the vasectomy does not impact any of these things. The only thing a vasectomy does is it compromises your fertility. It makes you sterile. There's no data supporting it lowers your testosterone. Once again, when I was talking about what the procedure does, we don't touch your testicles. We don't touch your penis. We are just touching this tube. It does not cause any issues with erectile dysfunction. It does not impact your orgasms. It doesn't even change really the volume of your load. Why? Because sperm is only about 5 to 10% of your semen volume. A lot of it comes from your seminal vesicles, your prostate. As long as you have those things intact, you're going to get pretty much the same volume of your semen that you did previously. So, nothing to worry about there. No risk of prostate cancer, no risk of heart disease, dementia, testicular cancer, none of these things. There's no data supporting it. The blue balls. Absolutely does not cause blue balls, but it also does not prevent you from getting blue balls too, right?
Nothing does.
We actually did that on our last podcast, right? There was one of the things. You're like, blue balls is a real thing. We're like, we still, we know it's real. We still don't care that much, but
right, it's fine. Right, exactly. If you're going to get blue balls, your vasectomy, you're going to get blue balls. Not going to do anything. Not going to change anything. People do wonder. They're like, all right, you got the vasectomy. What happens with the sperm? Because they think that's how they think blue balls would work. And honestly, your sperm, it's the same thing that happens when you don't ejaculate for long periods of time. The sperm sits in your balls. They have a certain lifespan. they die and then they're absorbed by your body. And it's the beautiful life cycle of sperm that more is created. It's the circle of life. So it's not going to be causing any blue balls. So don't worry about it.
So your balls are not going to fill up with sperm and explode.
No, if they got bigger, I guarantee you, once again, probably people would sign up for a vasectomy more.
Yeah. I want glitter and I want bigger balls.
I know.
Come on. Yeah, no, the body's a pretty amazing thing. And there's really nothing that's going to come out of a vasectomy other than you having no sperm in your ejaculate.
Also, I just want to attest to someone that is, and both Amy and I have been partnered with people that have had vasectomies for years, and the semen doesn't taste differently than I think that you would expect. It also, the consistency is the same. It still has like its viscosity. It still has its the color. Everything is pretty much as I would assume it would have been before the vasectomy had occurred. Now, I wasn't with those people. Well, I was never been with your dude, but I was not with my man before the vasectomies. But I assume, and from what he says, it hasn't changed, and the orgasms are still strong, and they're still just as intense as they were before. And that is something I just want to attest to from a partnership standpoint. So,
agreed.
The other piece that I want, an actual question. Thank you, Dr. Dubin.
Well, yeah, no, I can back it up. Like I said, the fructose comes from the seminal vesicles, like the prostate, all this stuff. So the taste is going to be the same. The product is going to be the same. The only thing the testicles really contribute is the sperm. So nothing is going to change. So you're 100% right. Sorry.
Yeah. But I think that's what people get. I did. And as an educated human, that I have a bachelor's of science, which I'm a very scientific, I'm not also my math skills. Sometimes it's questionable. However, I have a calculator now and, Siri, thank you. So that being said, though, I was like always wondering, because I don't own a penis, what a vasectomy would do to orgasm. And I think that is a fear that people live in. Even people that aren't penis owners, that are partnering with other penis owners, they're like, well, I don't want my partner to get hurt or feel pain when he orgasms. I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. So leaving all that, thank you for actually solidifying this, and from the medical side and from the side of seeing your patients that have had successful vasectomies. But let's now talk about, are vasectomies reversible? Because I think that we know this. However, I would love for you to share about the reversal process and what that looks like. And then what is the procedure, and also healing? Like this 22-year-old dude, you're like, bro, yeah, you get the vasectomy. He comes back 10 years later. He's like, Dr. Dubin, man, I met this chick. She really wants to, she wants it. I want to get hooked. I want to put a baby up in that.
I love
Can you reverse that? So what's the healing process?
I think I saw this guy. Are you sure you weren't this patient? Like,
can you give my number? Ago? It's 55555.
And what are the success rates? Like, can my homie friend that's 22 now 32, can he have a baby?
So it's an important question, and like I said, I always counsel patients that this is a permanent procedure. You have to go into it mentally. However, shit happens, right? Life happens, things happen. Whether you're that 22-year-old guy 10 years later finds a partner that he wants to have a kid with, or you're a little bit older, you have a divorce and you find a new partner that you want to have a kid with, and so it happens enough. About 6% of men who are penis owners annually decide to change their mind, and who have a vasectomy. And so what do we do for these people? Well, there's really two options, and the two options are based off of a lot of factors: the vulva owner's age, the desire of how many children they want. But the two procedures are the vasectomy reversal, which is something where we're a urologist, a special urologist, like a male infertility doctor, andrologist like myself. What we do is we do a surgery under a microscope, and we basically connect the vas back to the vas again on each side. And the success rate is pretty good. It's about 60 to 90%, wow. But it's still not guaranteed, right? There's no guarantees. And these things, it can take up to a year potentially for you to get sperm in your ejaculate. And, if your partner is older and time is of the essence, maybe this isn't a great option for you. And so, that's the one option. The second option is going and getting a sperm extraction. You go to a urologist like myself, we do a procedure, we go to the testicle or the epididymis to get sperm. and then we take it out, and then we give it to the reproductive endocrinologists.
Whoa.
And there you do IVF. So, the reversal, you would try to conceive naturally through intercourse. And then the IVF, the extraction, you have to do through IVF. And it's really important that you understand that people who are considering these options these are most likely not covered by insurance, at least the male aspect. The vasectomy reversal is probably not covered by insurance. The sperm extraction is probably not covered by insurance. The IVF depends on your state, depends on, what your job is. So these things can cost money. And at the end of the day, there's really no guarantees for having it, walking away with a kid. But we can do our best, and we will do our best to make sure, if that's your decision, to provide you with the best option and the most economical one based on a lot of factors for you to try and walk away with that kid.
So you could just extract semen from the testicles of someone that has a vasectomy.
Yes, like I said,
wow.
It's there.
So like if I met Drake and he had a vasectomy, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, no, it's there. It's there.
I actually had no idea. You blew my mind. And
blue balls?
I didn't know. No, there's no blue balls in the blowing of the mind. Okay, thank you.
That's amazing.
You're incredibly gifted with how you relay information. Thank you, Dr. Dubin.
Oh, thank you.
Not
That's
done
very
with
nice.
you yet, Dr.
No,
Dubin.
but you're right. It is an important thing. But once again, don't ever go into a vasectomy thinking that these are great options down the line, because they're going to be costly. There's no guarantees, and they can take a lot of time and a lot of stress, right? If you have a partner and, they have to go through IVF is not like a walk in a park for a vulva owner. It's not. It's the bottom line.
And
we get the easy part.
Is that extraction part? Is that if they had a vasectomy and they're extracting and you're extracting the sperm, the mobile,
so there's two spots you can get it. Yeah.
Is that painful and hard?
So there's two ways
difficult?
you can do it. You can do it in clinic. You can do it in clinic and just numb up the scrotum and testicle and kind of just take a needle and extract from the testicle, or you can extract from the epididymis, which is that little sliver, half crescent moon that's connected to the testicle. And that's where basically sperm are created in the testicle, and they mature and get their motility, and their tail starts moving in the epididymis. So an idea, like the success rate of fertilization is the same. The sperm is just as good from either spot. Kind of depends on, physician preference. You can do that in the clinic, which is maybe a little cheaper, and that's why some people sometimes do it that way. But you can also do it in the OR if you're like, I don't want to be awake when this needle is going inside me, which personally I probably would prefer.
I would too. I'm like, give me the drug because that put me out.
I usually do it in the
I'd
OR.
be like, no. All right. So moving on, I could go on with this maybe after we finish recording. we'll talk more because I have so many questions and I love that you have the answers. But what about Botox for the balls? Okay. We heard a rumor. This might be something to consider. Is this true? And do you think it would work, or is it complete fucking bullshit? Beep, beep,
so we're talking about Scrotox here, right? We're talking about Scrotox is what we call it. It's called Scrotox. And so just to give like a little summary, it is Botox of the balls. I'm surprised you guys never heard of this. You've never heard of Scrotox?
We don't have balls yet,
Not yet. Not yet. We will someday.
Maybe someday.
Yeah, it's Scrotox. Come on, it's Scrotox. It's all the cool people are doing it, apparently. But
are they really?
Yeah. No, I don't know.
No, we would know if all the cool people were doing it, Amy. Come on.
Yeah, you would definitely. So basically, just to give you guys an idea. So Botox, as you guys know, is used a lot for face, for muscle contractures, migraines. There's so many new ways in which people are using Botox. And what Botox is it's a neurotoxin that really impacts the neuromuscular junctions that leads to really muscle relaxation. The scrotum has muscles too, right? The cremasterix, the dartos. And what you do is, when you're cold and your balls retract, right? The famous, I was in the pool sketch from Seinfeld.
Shrinkage.
Shrinkage, the penis and shrink, but the penis is different muscle. We're talking about the balls going up. And so some people actually have testicular pain from a very strong spasmed muscle. And you can use the Botox to inject it there to relax it and kind of treat it. Now, I've never done that, but it is an option. And The other thing you're talking about, though, is the real Scrotox, which is, because it causes muscle relaxation. Basically, when you inject it across the scrotum, it relaxes that muscle and makes it smoother, less wrinkly. And some people apparently like the cosmetic appearance of that.
That's a real thing.
What?
It is something that they
So
do.
you can't even flex your botox wrinkle or your Scrotox.
They don't want
wrinkles.
they don't want wrinkly balls. They're trying to avoid
They
wrinkly
don't
balls.
want wrinkly balls.
But balls are just naturally kind of wrinkly a lot of times.
Yeah, well,
balls
the
are
point
awesome.
the wrinkles have a purpose, right? Because your skin needs to contract and it needs to expand, and your balls move. It's like one of those things that actually moves, and they also are very thin in that area because we need to regulate the temperature of the balls to keep them a little bit cooler than the ideal body temperature. That's why when it's really cold out, they go up inside. When it's really hot, they drop down. And so you need that skin flexibility to kind of help out with that. I'm not saying it compromises fertility, and I think that's where we were going with it as a contraceptive. I have never heard of it being used as a contraceptive. I've heard of it used as, obviously a cosmetic. I've never done it. I don't really think I'm going to plan on doing it. I don't really know who does it, but I have heard of practices doing it. But it really makes no sense in terms of if you think you're going to get Botox in your balls or your scrotum to prevent you from having kids, it's not going to work.
It's not going to freeze the swimmers with just like,
well, maybe it could prevent blue balls.
You're not going in the balls. You're not going in the balls, right? You're going into the skin and the muscle around it. So you're not even touching any of the stuff where the sperm's being made. And you really don't want to. I don't know what happens. Probably something bad is going to happen if you inject, a neurotoxin into your testicle. But
I think save yourself that money if anyone has any insecurity about the wrinkles that are on your testicles. I'd say, you know what? Embrace those a little bit, because that could be a sense that you're wise and that you have wonderful testicles, and Botox your brain or your wrinkles on your face if you really want to.
Not literally though.
No, don't know that. Amy and April's future Botox fund at 55555.
Botox, my body doesn't take it properly. So
Listen, I'm a fan of Botox. I have no problems with Botox. I think it's a great thing for a lot of people. There's so many uses. This is just one of them that it's out there. I don't really practice it. But I would, before you think about doing it, probably go talk to your local urologist and see what they think.
Yeah, before you freeze your balls, put your balls on ice. So I wanted to just read a quote by Betty White, everyone. Betty White says, "Why do people say grow some balls? Balls are weak and sensitive. If you really want to get tough, grow a vagina. Those things really know how to take a pounding." And I only bring that in.
Rest in power, Betty White.
Not because we're hating on balls. We're talking about Scrotox and all these funny things. Because I'm going into a little bit of a heavier topic, just to touch in here, because I think it is important.
Yeah.
So I recently listened to Gabrielle Blair's work or her book, or she was talking about her book on another podcast. And it's actually a local podcaster. I'll send it to you, April. But anyways,
I already listened to it.
Okay, good. So
you already sent it.
I did too.
I already sent it to like everyone.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I was going to ask you, have you heard of her work? But so you already have listened, and it's called Ejaculate Responsibly: A Whole New Way to Think About Abortion.
She's a mom of 6 and
yeah,
more.
she's like, I have a lot of babies.
A Mormon mom of 6.
Yeah.
So FYI.
So I'm curious because in this podcast, and then I haven't actually read her book, but just listened to her on Guy Kawasaki's podcast. And she's talking about vasectomies being, and it's from a vulva owning perspective, as like April said, a Mormon vulva owner who has a lot of kids, being a penis owner's way of potentially supporting the current issues around vulva owners' way of taking care of their fertility, or being the sole proprietors of fertility in general. What are your thoughts about that? I know it's like a little heavier dip, and
no, it's an important question.
We are in a time where there's like a threat here that is happening, and I know that I've felt that, especially someone who just said that I got pregnant on the IUD. By the way, in this episode, since you both listen, she says, and April and I both had the copper IUD, which I got pregnant on. So you're saying the statistics of that are like way lower or higher, actually, in terms of getting pregnant.
You got poisoned from that thing.
I got poisoned from my second one. Got pregnant from the first one. And she says some people, their experience with IUD, they do not, because you don't get any sort of you're not like under anesthetic, or not anesthetics, but you know what I mean. You're like fully present for, and they're shoving something through your cervix, anesthesia, or like not even numbing the cervix.
No.
And so she's talking about this, like, penis owners owners get this for vasectomies, they numb this out or they take you out, but they don't, if they had to actually experience this with the cervix, it would be a whole different story, but this is a normal procedure on our end. So long-winded version of saying, what do you think about that, about penis owners, about vasectomies being an option if it fits in their lives to contribute to this, I don't know, this mission that we're, or this time or era that we're in?
No, I think first off, I thank you for sending me. I listened to it because you recommended it, and it was a really great interview, and I learned a lot, and it was a really important perspective to hear. And first off, I'm going to start this off by, as a physician, I have no issue saying that I am pro-choice. Women should have the autonomy over their bodies, and that means abortion rights, access to abortion, right? Abortion is medical care. It's essential to vulva owners' health and their wellness. So that's right there, no problem. We need to make sure that the access is there, and this is something that women have access to. And in the times that we're living in right now, in this post Roe v. Wade world, women may not have the autonomy over their own bodies, depending on what state you live in. And vasectomy in this case is a really excellent option for contraception, and a really great way for guys to really do their part and ensure that their partner doesn't have to deal with potential health implications because of where they live and dealing with an unwanted pregnancy, right? And, I think when I came on last week, and she brought this up, it was a really great point. When I came on last time, I think we talked a little bit about fertility. And one of the things for male fertility that I think is very important is that right now there's this huge stigma that puts a lot of pressure on women for family planning. They have to go to the reproductive endocrinologist. They need to do all these things. And we don't talk about the men. We need to bring that focus away from the women back to the couple as a whole. And that includes incorporating the men and the male health, and how we can also evaluate these people. And I think the same thing goes for contraception as well, right? And she talks about this, and it was really, really insightful, where we do have this burden of women having to take birth control, oral birth control, IUDs. Guys have to wear condoms. That's about it. And half of us really hate wearing condoms. And I understand that, but it's a very little thing to do for the amount of things that women do. And so I think we have to, just same way that I'm trying to change the concept of fertility care, we have to change this concept of contraceptive care, where it shouldn't really be just a focus on the female partner or the vulva owner, but it really needs to be the couple as a whole. And if the penis owner is able to contribute and through a vasectomy, then and they know that they don't want to have any more kids, I think it is a really, really great option. And I think that what's really interesting to me is some penis owners are getting it. They actually understand this. There was a really great study that came out last month by some people that I know, that they looked at Google searches pretty much for vasectomy across the country in post Roe v. Wade. And actually, Google searches have increased since this happened, but it's especially more popular vasectomy searches in states that were either abortion was either prohibited or they expected to be prohibited. So I think some guys are getting the picture here that this is something that we really need to consider, but it may be, their partners also doing that Google search. But either way, I think the point is, we can't put this burden on just your partner. It's a two-way street. It takes two to make a baby, whether you want it or you don't want the baby. And both sides have to be involved for the conversation and for the care.
Or a whole team if you're going to do IVF or all those other things, right? So yeah.
Correct.
I think I've said so many times when I've had my single moments, I'm like, if I had a profile on a dating app, one of the things I'd be looking for from a penis owner was a vasectomy, because I'm like, wow, he's responsible and he cares. And I'm not promoting that on any level. And I don't want to offend someone out there that's like, I don't know what I want. I haven't met the right person. And so I'm not going down that rabbit hole. But for some, I think that putting the burden, if you're a sexual human, and putting the burden on the other person that has the burden of having a fucking baby, like, think about it. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing besides, are you protecting yourself in a way with using condoms? What are you doing? Like, ask yourself those questions and stop moving the burden of childbirth. If you don't want a child, if you want a child, awesome. Then don't have a vasectomy. Awesome. But if you're, dipping your pen in the company ink of the world and you want to you're not sure what you want and you don't want to support a mother and a child, then fucking lock it up, man. Well, I had a deadbeat dad. Sorry, Dad, you were deadbeat. He doesn't listen.
And I agree with what you're saying, because the other thing that she says in that podcast too is, if it's not a vasectomy or whatever, it's how can you support your partner's fertility?
Right.
Like their cramps, their menstrual cycles, their birth control that they're on, how it's affecting their bodies. How you doing today? Do you want some chocolate? All these things as opposed to you deal with it, So and
not my problem. Yeah.
And that's another reason why we wanted to talk about vasectomies here as kind of like normalizing something that, if it feels right for you in your life, it's actually not that wild. And you said most insurance covers it. So
I'm sure it's not as wild as having to go on birth control that can fuck up your hormones every day.
Or the IUD that
I did for 15 years. Yeah. So Dr. Dubin, sorry.
No, I agree. And I just to bring up the point, you guys both made some good points. And I've seen guys, who were younger guys, once again, who knew they never wanted to have kids, and they were 30 and they were like, I've wanted to have a vasectomy for 6 years already, but I was scared that, my urologist, my doctor was going to judge me. Going back to the other point, I was like, dude, if you came in here whenever, as long as you were 8, I was going to do it. Don't ever feel hesitant. If you're thinking about these things, go talk with your doctor. Okay. And even if you don't want a vasectomy, we're not saying it is a permanent procedure. So if you do want to have kids, there are other ways to support. Make sure you're wearing condoms if that's what you really want to do. And that's okay. It's an effective treatment. The thing about pull-out method and stuff like that, I always say the pull-out method works 100% of the time until it doesn't. So, it's one of those things that I don't really think is a great option. But there are a lot of ways that you and your partner can have a conversation that, it's not just putting pressure on one person to bear that whole responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I have one last piece, but before we close, I want to be certain that everyone understands that getting a vasectomy doesn't mean that you can't give other people STDs or STIs.
Excellent point.
So it's something that it just like condoms are about 88%, 89% effective. And vasectomies do not mean that you're not going to be able to provide others with the gift that keeps on giving.
If they did, though.
It would be. I would be like,
everyone would be lining up once again.
Cool.
Tightens up your balls, makes your balls bigger, and no STIs.
That's such a good point. So just because you have a vasectomy and you're a single person out there, you're a single penis owner, or you're a single vulva owner, or you're having sex with someone who, maybe you're not in a long-term relationship who has a vasectomy, that doesn't mean you can't get those things. So condoms do things other than just prevent babies. Obviously, I think that's the one thing that people really think about, but you can still get other things. So it's a really excellent point. This is not preventing you from getting any other STDs or anything like that. So if you are out there and, if you think that the vasectomy is the key to you just, raw dogging your way through town and not having any repercussions, you're probably sorely missing.
Sorry.
Wah, damn it.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
I wanted to raw dog my way through life.
I know. So you have a podcast. It's called Man Up. You co-host a podcast. It's called Man Up. And it's with, I believe, another doctor. And it's called Man Up, a doctor's guide to men's health. What kinds of topics do y'all cover during this show? And how can we be on your show? Amy and I want to. Because we're not men, but we're going to be on there. And how can people find your podcast and work with you? Because you are, and I don't say this lightly, you are an amazing human and doctor, especially when it comes to men's health. So I appreciate listening to you. So thank you. Don't get distracted by the other 5 questions I just asked you. Yeah. Thank you, doctor.
No, that actually, thank you so much. And we definitely need to have you both on. So we're going to talk about a topic and we'll get you on. But basically, I do it with my co-host, Dr. Kevin Chu. He did his residency with me. He also did his fellowship in men's health, male infertility, does the same topics, talks about the same topics as I do. He also, does the same procedures I do. And usually our episodes focus on health topics that we feel, penis owners either don't know enough or don't want to talk about. We actually also interview people who went through things, who had prostate prostate cancer, who had a surgery. We actually have a great episode on this topic, 2 episodes. We talk about vasectomies, and we also have a guy who's a good friend of mine come on who had a vasectomy. We had him on like 2 weeks after he has a vasectomy. So if anyone who's listening to this is thinking about it and really wants to get it from a horse's mouth, go listen to that episode. It's a really good episode. Basically, our goal is threefold. Really, we want to destigmatize men's health and wellness. We want to provide accurate medical information in this era of misinformation. And then we want to advocate for really penis owners to take a more active role in their health and seek appropriate care. You can find us on any podcasting platform. You can find us on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram at The Man Up Pod. Our website is themanuppod.com. You can also connect with me if you want on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, is Justin Dubin MD. Also, my email is on my Instagram, but it's justindubinmd@gmail. Can't get easier than that. But yeah, that's how we do it. And it's really fun. Episodes come out every 2 weeks. So, and we're going to record some stuff at the Sexual Medicine Conference that is coming up next week. I wish you guys were there, but
I bet that gets wild.
Oh yeah,
Dr. Dubin.
It's in Miami. It's going to be fun. Listen, it's going to be really fun. I'll be there when it comes out. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
You guys come. You guys should come next year.
We would have loved, yes, maybe next year.
I think it's in San Diego next year.
Oh,
so
that's
maybe,
easier for us.
Yeah.
All right, come over to our coast over here.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dr. Justin Dubin, also everyone, so you know, all of these links will be in the show notes. So you don't have to remember all of these pieces. Just go and look in the show notes, so wherever you're listening, and we'll have all the links there for you. I want to give a reminder to our listeners. So you love Dr. Justin Dubin, or you love any Dr. Doobie, any episode that we have, you love listening to us. You know, this is free for you to listen to if you're paying for it somewhere. I don't know what you're doing, but it's generally free
We're
content.
paying for it.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. So
They're not.
Just a reminder for our podcast. So we carefully choose our advertisers that help to support this to make this content free for you. We carefully choose our guests. And the best way to support our podcast
Buy their shit.
Yes. But so our carefully chosen advertisers, you heard some ads throughout this episode. Please support them, and it helps support us so that we can help to bring the message of people like Dr. Justin Dubin to you on our show from anywhere in the world, wherever you're listening. I don't know where you are. You might be walking down the street in Oklahoma. Iceland. Yes, all the above. I don't know. South America.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Oh, bring me back.
Yeah.
So, okay, Amy, that was good. And that she's legit in saying that we do choose our sponsors carefully. We say no to a lot. So please, y'all, I buy this stuff after we run out of sponsorship materials. I buy the stuff from our sponsors using the code Shameless usually. So,
or Shameless Sex.
Yes, or Shameless Sex. So check that out. And the last invitation is thank you to Dr. Justin Dubin for always bringing such knowledge to us. Go check out his stuff, his podcast, and also go rate us. Go rate his podcast if you listen to an episode and love it on iTunes, Spotify as well. We read every single review. Amy obviously monitors the bad ones because
they're very, very rare. Very rare.
Yeah. And yes, but I can take some feedback if it's, done in a really nice way. Listen to our episodes on how to speak with a shit sandwich, and then I can handle it. So
actually, as you're saying that, I just want to say one thing. If you feel like we're getting too political, because there were some things here that might be controversial for some folks, depending on your beliefs, please email us that your opinions, because we read all the emails too. We're happy to engage with you in that way. But if you just disagree with us and you go online and you're going to say, I disagree with you guys, or don't know your shit, and you should stick to what you know, which has happened before. Like, just, there's an outlet for us to engage with you instead of going online and, like hating on us and trolling on our reviews.
Well, I want to piggyback off that, because I think that it's an important question. It's not really even political. We're talking about health, and you're bringing a doctor on who's talking about literal medicine and health implications of these things. So in my opinion, we're talking about medicine, and, people have the right to disagree, but, that's their right. And but at the end of the day, I'm talking medicine. I'm talking from a medical perspective, and you ask the medical professional, and that's my opinion, or my medical opinion at least. So I didn't think it was a problem at all, but maybe
no problem. Just mic drop.
No, it's mic drop. But yeah. But we are two women talking about vasectomies, so that kid. But we have the Dr. Dubin to back us up on the vasectomy episode. And to all of you out there, we do love you. Every single one of you. I give you a air hug now. When I give Amy a hug, Also, check out our Shameless Sex YouTube channel because most of our episodes are live. You can see how sexy Dr. Justin Dubin is.
I mean, we're all sexy. We're all very sexy, good-looking
Three
people. So
sexy
you
people.
should watch us.
He's wearing his doctor. Actually, it says his name on there.
All the way. He's
wearing
wearing his scrub.
he's actually about to go to work right now.
He is, or he just came back.
I wear this. Hey, listen, if you want a preview, this is what I wear at work. So, this is just
Must
me
be nice not to have to
casual
think about
wear.
your outfit. God.
It saves me so much time. It
I
really
can only
does. It's great.
Just like a vasectomy.
We're drawing this episode out. It is late. It's almost 6:30 when we're recording this, and that means it's 9:30 and Dr. Justin Dubin's time. So we're gonna have to bid you all farewell. But remember, we drop a new episode of Shameless Sex every Tuesday. Go subscribe, follow us everywhere. We love you right back, y'all. We'll see you next Tuesday. Ciao for now.